Okay, it's 3:02 here in Montpellier, so we can probably start. Hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning. Thank you so much for joining this Breeding Resources webinar on its learning management system launched. We are here today for 60 minutes, where we'll have a very interesting. So I am Julie Presch, I am your host. In a few seconds, our senior director, Sharif about the strategic role of a LMS.
You're going in and out, Julie.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. Probably have to speak closer to the mic. So I was just saying that our senior director, Sharifa we will give welcoming remarks and explain the strategic role of an LMS in our breeding resources work. Then Stefan Einarsson, who's the head of CapDev, Capacity Development for Breeding Resources, will give a presentation of our learning management system. You'll get a tour of the tool, get to know who's our audience and what differentiates our LMS from other learning management system. And then you'll learn how you can get involved and get to use insightful resources. We'll then have a presentation from Jim Well from Scriptoria, will tell you more about the whole development process of the learning management system and the partnership between Breeding Resources and Scriptoria for the development of this LMS. And then finally, Simon Imuro from IATA will give a presentation about the EPS Foundation class. It's a use case about the enterprise breeding system and the certification training class that is now available in the LMS. At the end of the presentations, you will have some time for questions and you will be able to ask in person or in the chat. Feel free to add your questions into the chat during the presentations, and then we'll pick up some of them at the end just to give you answers to like all the questions that you may have during the presentations. I'll now just give the floor to Sharifa for the strategic role of an LMS in our work on behalf of Breeding Resources.
Thanks, Julie. Can you put the slide? Is there a slide? The one that from Stefan. Okay, yes. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Julie. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a good day so far or just starting their day. So I think we are, as an initiative, we are all heading to our home stretch now. It's mid-October. And I think from Breeding Resources Initiative, we still have a few of launches to be made towards the end of the year. There'll be another one on Thursday on our BioFlow, the analytics tools for breeders. But today we have this learning management systems that we want to launch and bring to you guys. So essentially, the purpose of this learning hub, we call it, is, as you know, Breeding Resources Initiative or Breeding and Research Services, we conduct a lot of training. We just finished a couple of weeks back a training on maintenance and also other machineries training and so on. So all kinds of trainings are happening in CG centers and also with our NARS partners. So with those trainings, we have a growing need to also have an online system where people who may not be at the on-site training can access those kind of training as well. So that's where this learning management system come in. Basically, it's a specific a system where we can deliver our training more effectively and also in a way have some kind of resource sharing so that the work that we do reach more people rather than just those training on site. So, but there could be a question where you could be asking, like, why another one? You know, the centers, CIMMYT has an LMS system, ERI has one, some of the centers have as well. So why do we need to create one that is standing alone at this point for Breeding Resources Initiative? Well, essentially, Breeding Resources, we operate across CG centers, across crops, and of course, across NAS partners as well. And our work is about delivering services and support. So through this learning management system, we want to also extend those services so that people can get the SOPs, learn how to do things online if you can't manage to get to the training on site, and eventually as well, this is also a place where you can book training or even perhaps recommend some training in the future. So it has a unique role, not basically unlike what the centers are providing, and it's crop agnostic as well. And because of the service and support nature of the work, there is always a capacity development need for that, and it has become a critical element for the work that is done by Breeding Resources. And we want people to be able to access those things in this hub. And by having a specific hub, we can also align the content and services that have been provided and to support the mission and operational goals of Breeding Resources. And as well, we want to have a global reach through this as well, not only just the on-site training that has been going on for the past 3 years. So these are some of the reasons that we want to have this learning management system is being built specifically for Breeding Resources, essentially that links to the services that are being provided and align with our goals and missions. But you know, so that's that's essentially the idea of behind this having a learning and management system that is unique to Breeding Resources. So I think with that, I pass this over to Stefan to explain the system a bit more. Thanks. Go ahead, Stefan.
Great. Julie, next slide, please. So I'm going to give you a tour and a little bit of a rationale behind what we're doing here. Julie, next slide. Yeah, what is the goal? And this is kind of a recap of what Sharifa said. We're creating a unified learning management system that supports BRS's unique mission of serving a diverse breeding research community. I think you saw in that last slide that there are 11 CG centers, and I think it was something like 16 crops and many NARs that we're working with. So we want to be able to serve that community. Our LMS will streamline the global capacity development efforts, ensuring access to cutting-edge breeding practices and tools, fostering collaboration, and enhancing efficiency across our network of stakeholders. So Julie, next slide, please. So how did we get here? You know, what was the process? You know, given the goal that we had before, we put together a team, and the team put together a rubric. And what a rubric is you know, what's important to our target audience. The team agreed on the weights of each of the criteria within the rubric. We then went out and searched around to determine what products would best meet the needs for the target audiences. We then sat down and did the sort of book research about the different products, and we looked at the stats, and we compared many of them, and we also scheduled demos of each of the products that are out there, and we had outside groups pitch to us about what LMS might be the best out there. We then scored the products based on the analyses and the demos and what we had learned. And then we compiled and scored and chose a winner. Next slide, please. And that created what you're now going to see, our BR Learning Hub. And what really makes it a good fit? It's user-friendly, it's scalable and flexible, it's mobile-friendly, it's got advanced analytics, it can integrate to lots of different tools, it's a global leader and it's globally adopted, it supports a huge variety of multimedia, it's got its own support community, and it's being continuously improved. And to top all that off, it's open source. And so we don't have any licensing fees associated with sort of making this work. Next slide, please. This is a glimpse of the homepage or the dashboard of the system. You would choose various classes. This is not the full set of classes that are out there, but you choose what classes you want to concentrate on, and they would be on your individual dashboard for you to work through. And you can work through classes either in a self-paced way or as part of a synchronized effort with a teacher involved. Next slide, please. This is an example of one of the home pages. It just gives you an introduction to a class. In this case, we're talking about Teresa's practical continuous improvement class. And if you go on to the next page, you can see the modules within Teresa's class. And this is the content that you would work through in her class. And this could go from one module to hundreds of modules, depending on the class type. Next slide, please. This is a example of some of Teresa's video content that she's delivering in this particular class. And if you go on to the next slide, this is an assignment that she gave for this class. Certain classes, particularly those that are synchronous, would have assignments that you might be asked to participate in. Next slide, please. Here is an example of quizzes that are involved with Teresa's class. Next slide. And here is where there would be a discussion forum. And if you were having a synchronized class, this is where there might be discussion between you and your peers, or between the teacher and all of the students in the class. If you go on to the next page, also there's a dedicated app for this, for the BR Learning Hub. And it's mobile ready now, and all the classes could be done on your mobile or tablet if you preferred. Next slide, please. For the launch, which is now, we wanted to have content from each of the areas, and we've accomplished that. So for all the areas within breeding resources, we have content. So for trial and nursery, we have a class on mechanization and digitization equipment for research stations. For lab services, we have a class on the service portal tool. For quality management, we have two classes, one on lean micro-learning. This is what Teresa just described in her lecture about a number of weeks ago. And she's already created the content for this class, and it's here now. We also have the practical continuous improvement class that you saw a couple of images of earlier. We also have, for breeding analytics, a class on bioflow. And for digital solutions, we have an EBS introductory course. And that's not to be confused with something that Simon will be talking about a little bit later, which is a certificate program that we'll be talking about more. Next slide. Just to give you a sense, I'm going to show you the home pages of each of the ones that we've talked about. So this is the home page for the mechanization and digitization equipment for research stations. Next slide. This is for lab services, the service request tool class. Next slide. This is the home page for Teresa's practical continuous improvement. Next slide, please. This is the home page for BioFlow. Next slide, please. And here is the home page for the EBS introductory class. Next slide. So what will be happening next? So we're going to be taking content and porting it where appropriate from other platforms that serve our audience and where we have ability to have that content. Because we want to be a repository that really caters to the needs of this audience. We'll also be creating new content that can be used in one of two ways, either through self-training or hybrid teacher-assisted training. So that will be happening as well. Next slide, please. So how can this help you? This will allow you to have access to up-to-date learning and training materials on topics that are relevant to you. For synchronous classes where you're in a community, where you're where you're working with other people in real time or somewhat delayed, classes will give you opportunities to build community in areas of interest. And then we'll also be creating more rigorous, meaningful certificate programs that will verify your understanding of key topic areas. Next slide, please. So how can you get involved? I'll give you a moment here to pull out your phone, and you can sort of take a snap at this QR code, and you can register right now for the site. And this will take you to the registration site. Julie has just put in the chat also the link to that site. It asks a number of questions. And if you're part of the community, we're going to do a quick review to make sure that there's no outliers that want to just get into the system. But if you're part of our community, you'll be allowed to get into the Learning Hub, and you'll have access to it shortly. So again, utilize the link in the chat or the QR code right now. You'll get on the list, or you'll be registered, and then we'll qualify you and then let you into the LMS system. Next slide. So how can you learn more? And I think this is my last slide, but we're using the LMS to teach people about the LMS. So in the LMS, we have a Welcome to eLearning class. So once you get into the LMS, you can go to that one right away and learn a little bit more about how this is all structured. Also, we're going to have an interactive Zoom session that I'll be hosting on October 29th. Where I'll show you the basics of navigation and how to use the system if people are new to it. On November 6th, I will have a primer, an entry-level class for creators or people interested in learning how to create content for our LMS. And that will happen then. And you can register at the link below here. And I think, Julie, you'll put that one also in the chat. And that will ask you a number of questions. What's your name, your email, whether or not you want to be part of the LMS introductory class or the creator class. And then we'll send you email on the appropriate information for the respective classes. So With that, I'd like to go to the next slide and thank you and turn it over to Jim. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. How do you do? Nice to meet you. Next slide, please, Julie, and I'll introduce myself on that. Hi. So my name's Jim Wheel. I'm the principal consultant, director of a company called Scriptoria. Stefan asked us to introduce ourselves as partners, to explain the role we played, and also how the system works technically, so you can see what an achievement this system was. So Scriptoria is an award-winning company. We're specialised in data, information, knowledge management, and communication. So all of our specialism is about making sure that information, data, etc., and knowledge flow around and through organisations. Next slide, please, Julie. The point of that is a lot of you will know Scriptoria for different things. You'll have interacted with different parts of the company. Today, I'm going to focus on the software and data architecture services, of which I'm one of the leads. But some of you might have met us for our consulting advisory services, others for our training and facilitation services. We've been doing a lot of training and facilitation in the lead up to the changes that are coming in the new year. And many of you know us for the communication services we provide. But today I want to focus on the software and data architecture. The next slide, please, Julie. So our work around data systems with the CG really focuses on taking complex processes that you interact with every day. You might be trying to achieve a certain goal and you're trying to manage it via Excel or via email, etc., which is a very time intensive and cost heavy way of doing things. So what we're brought into is to analyze what can be done to improve that situation and to build systems that address that. And it's useful to think about systems. I've used this same picture before in other seminars and lectures I've given. It's useful to think of them as planets revolving around a sun in a solar system. And that sun is user needs. So everything you do when you build a software data system like the LMS, for example, is focused on ensuring that user needs are at the center of everything. The next thing you do is you make sure that the systems that you build integrate and interact with other systems to make it a simple user experience for those using it, which is the next thing we took into account when we're building it. And then it's about ensuring that you provide value for money and doing it in a cost-effective way. Next slide, please, Julie. So the Service Portal Hub, which Scriptoria built, contains several subsystems. It's known as a hub because it's actually a very large system in itself, made up of subsystems. And the purpose of that whole system is to create a place where partners can easily access key services. So you might be researchers who need to run laboratory analysis, for example, DARTAG or LDSG analyses. You would come to the Service Portal Hub, you would register, and then you can actually submit your laboratory samples through that. You can automatically create your plate. Your plate images, for example, and create your sample lists within there. The same with, say, operational services. You might be somebody who wants to put in place an irrigation system, and you can come to the Service Hub for that. And you can get help from the operational services team to help you achieve your goals, again, via the system. So the whole point is about centralizing services. That has a lot of benefits. For example, with the laboratory analyses, by bringing everybody's laboratory requests together, they can go to an agreed laboratory, and there can be cost savings there because everybody is submitting to the same lab. So this service was launched about a year ago, and it's been steadily expanding ever since. Next slide, please, Julie. So when people first joined, previous slide, Julie, thanks. When people, again, sorry, you've gone several slides on it, you could go back one. There we go. So when people joined the service portal, it was immediately identified that training was a key need. You know, over the last few months, clearly training's been a key need, as Stefan has outlined. So the LMS was built as part of the hub I've described, but it was built as a separate system. As Stefan described, we went through and we identified the best option for the data system to build. Now that is usually provided as a corporate system by most companies, but it's also available as an open source software. And that's a critical point that Stefan emphasized. We took the open source code that was available for this system, and if you have sufficient skills, you're able to build a completely open source site from it. And that's what we did. And that provides very strong value for money, because you are not paying monthly fees per user, which you normally would have to with this system and a system of this quality. That has significant savings for you. If you think, for example, that you probably pay around $15 per person for a system like this normally, and you have 200 users, it's going to save you around $36,000 a year in license costs. So because this system is open source and free, you have significant benefits there. What we didn't want to do was build a system then that you had to log into twice. So we didn't want you to go to the service portal and then have to come out and go to the learning system separately. So we built a seamless single sign-on architecture at the back of the system. And what that simply means to you is that when you log into the service portal and you enter the service portal, I'll show you that in a minute as you register, you can just click the button that says Learning Management System and you go to that system as if it's part of the same site. Next slide, please, Julie. The other aspect of that was that there were other systems that were being built by other groups. The biometrics group, for instance, had built an excellent system called BioFlows, and they were able to use the seamless single sign-on system that we put in place to support the logins for their system. So that's become a seamless login for you as well. So basically, if you log into the standard service portal, you enter the site, and from there you can access the LMS, or you can access BioFlows, again as if you're in the same system. You can also access BioFlows separately. The biometrics team did a great job of producing it, and you can again use the password and username that you use to register with the service portal to enter BioFlows from that site directly. So it's becoming a fully integrated system. And that has proved very effective, and that is the current configuration that you're seeing on screen. If we could go to the next slide, please, Julie. And the whole point is to make things easy for you. So as Stefan mentioned, you'll go to the registration page, you'll go to the create account panel here, put in your details, just choose e-learning from the drop-down menu. I'll just register with e-learning first, and then it will be, your request will be sent to Stefan and team, and they will check that you do have, you should have access to the site, and they will join you into the site. Next slide, please, Julian. So whilst we have this current configuration with a seamless sign-on to the LMS, to BioFlows, and to all the many systems now that make up the service portal, we wanted to make it even easier for you as well. So if we go to the next slide, Julie. Great. What we've done now is we've built the system to interact with Microsoft and Google sign-in directories, and it's those directories that control your standard CGIAR.org emails and your standard CGIAR.org sign-ins. So what that means is, you've probably all done this on the before. You'll go to a site and it says, would you like to sign in with Facebook? Would you like to sign in with another account? And it's very easy, because then you don't have to remember 2 passwords. So what you can now do, if you have a CGIAR email, and this will be coming soon in the next few weeks, you'll be able to come to this site, register, create a portal account for yourself, a service portal account, use all those systems. But then, as I say, if you're a CGIAR.org user or an IRI.org user, you'll be able to come back and you won't need to remember your Service Portal Hub username and password. You'll simply be able to log in with your everyday CGIAR.org username and password, and the system will shake hands with Microsoft, recognize who you are, and will log you in. And I would say, yeah, I would say that's it actually. So the whole point is to make it as simple as possible for you. Last slide, please, Julie. I've gone through all of the technical background to kind of show you what has been achieved with the system. But from your point of view as a user, it's very simple. You register, you come into this site, it appears like a single system to you. You click, you log in, you go wherever you need to, and you simply do your work simply and efficiently without taking up too much of your time. Thank you very much, all. And back to you, Stefan.
I think it's to Simon next. So Simon?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Simon Imoro. I'm a data manager at IITA and also a member of the EBS Global Support Team under Digital Solutions. Next slide, please. So on the EBS Academy program, which we run by the Digital Solutions with the Global User Support Team, our main goal is to promote the enterprise building system as the endorsed data management system by CGI, and also to raise awareness about the importance and benefits of this EBS expertise across the CGI network. So this goal is in line with the entire BRS goal of this learning management system of promoting use and sharing of resources across CGI and NAS partners. The objectives of this course is to communicate the significance of EBS expertise to stakeholders within the CG NARES communities. We also like to promote the benefits of knowledge through effective communication and marketing strategies through these particular EBS courses. We'll highlight the value of formal recognition and rewards for individuals, especially with advanced EBS skills, as this certification program would be recognized across the CGI. We also encourage widespread adoption of EBS practices by showcasing success stories and case studies from adopting programs of EBS during this course. Next slide, please. So the EBS has different levels or offer different course levels. So the level 1, which we call the fundamental course, aims to equip students or learners with the understanding of EBS concepts and the core reading workflows. And learners who undertake this course should be able to provide day-to-day support for their core reading operations within their reading programs by searching and making lists, sharing the lists with their members of the reading program, creating and managing experiments, making courses and advancements, uploading data, and performing data quality checks within the system, among other core reading activities that can be undertaken in the system, as we'll see in the next slide. After this course, users will also, sorry, please, next back, one slide back. Users will also be going to provide support for tablets and printers because the EBS inculcates in the use of tablets direct with the system, which is a plus for us. So people will be able to be trained how to use these tablets for data collection, and also to use printers, download field tags, harvest tags, seed envelopes, labels from the system, and be able to print them as required by their reading programs. And within this program, they will also learn the best practices of submitting tickets for support, and also where to get help and and the effective ways in which to get this help from the system. Next slide, please. So these are the topics covered in the EBS Level 1 course in the recommended order. It covers all the major functionalities and of the core reading domain of the EBS, including EBS concepts and overview, and the phenotypic data manager, which is like a bridging tool for users to be able to review their data that is collected, perform data QC, quality checks, and review before they can go ahead to analyze their data. The core reading domain tools that enable the breeding program to perform their breeding activities effectively through this system. We ensure that the users will be able to follow this format as prescribed by us so that they will be able to learn the system effectively without any knowledge gaps. As knowledge acquired in the previous session will become valuable and usable and useful in the subsequent lessons. Next slide, please. The target audience for this particular EBS academic courses is for breeders, technicians, data managers within the breeding programs, research associates, and other support personnel within the breeding programs across the CG and NAS communities, as I indicated earlier. Next slide, please. Throughout this course, we employ different learning instruments to be able to ensure that knowledge is transferred to our users and they use this knowledge effectively. Videos are our primary or foundation learning materials that we use in this video to explain concepts and to walk users through or learners through the workflows that the workflows of the EBS core domain. Throughout this course, the videos also be interspersed with quizzes such as test your understanding quizzes, graded quizzes, to ensure the users grasp the content they learned from the previous videos that they watched. There will also be hands-on practice exercises for users to practice the workflows that they have learned in these courses using the EBS demo environment. There will be slides that users can download for their own study later. And also we'll make reference to other learning material, especially the EBS user guides that is curated and packaged nicely for our learners and users at large. We also intend to employ the expert learning led sessions, which I call the ELS, for us to engage live with our learners on this platform when they enroll as a badge to address concerns and answer some questions, or even give a demonstration of some workflows and concepts that they would need clarity on. Finally, there will be hands-on projects for our learners to undertake to ensure that they have the skill that they learn throughout this project is actually usable and replicated. Next slide, please. This certification course actually requires some level of commitment from our learners to successfully achieve the learning outcomes, especially to get certified. We ensure that learners must go through all the modules to ensure comprehensive understanding of the subject matter being discussed in each of the modules. Also, each unit will have quizzes, assignments to assess the learner's grasp of the specific topics covered. At the end of the course, learners will take a final test to gauge their overall understanding of the material that has been covered. Additionally, learners are required to complete a final hands-on project that demonstrates their ability to apply the skills and knowledge gained throughout the course. After completing the certification requirements of this course and obtaining the minimum pass mark from all the quizzes and assessment, then a user can then be termed as a certified EBS end user. However, learners who do not require or need a certificate can also enroll and complete this course without taking the end of course test and final project. Next slide, please. There are other high-level certification courses run by the EBS Academy, but before a user can or a learner can enroll into these high levels like level 1, level 2, and 3, they must complete level 1. However, level 2 and 3 is actually targeting a particular group of users, unlike the first level. Level 1 is targeting data managers of the breeding programs, trainers, admin, and other advanced users of EBS that perform advanced functions across the different domains of the EBS, aside the core breeding domain that we saw earlier. The reason why this particular level 2 and 3 is targeting these users is because these users have higher access level to the access to the system, unlike the other level 1, which is open to general core users. So data managers will be able to log into a system, perform some data updates, perform configuration settings, and other advanced settings in the systems. And also trainers would like to give trainings in the other domains aside the core breeding domain. So this is why this particular level 2 and 3 is targeting this group of people. Next slide, please. Throughout this course, we would offer different communication and support channels to our users. learners can actually request academic query through the BR Learning Management System or Hub to our Digital Solutions Hub. They can ask for an academic query, ask for clarity on course concepts, assignment or thesis, discussions on the course material. They can also request access to EBS demo environment for practices or other shared resources. The other important announcement that will be given throughout this learning management system, VR Hub Learn, such as the ELS schedules, when our demo environment will be down for upgrade and for new data loading, as this happens periodically, so users may not be able to access the system at that time. And also when new models are released to the system. Discussion forums are also available, as we have heard earlier, for our users to get interactive. Also, there will be notifications as to when new content is released, when assignments are due, and when grades or exercises are graded or assessed, and also the final project when it's assessed. Users will be notified. Users can also just scan this QR code that will be embedded in the system for them to get interactive and send us some feedback through some short surveys for our continuous improvement throughout the course. Next slide, please. So on behalf of the Digital Solutions and the EBS Global User Support team, I would like to wish all our prospective learners a happy learning. And thank you. We hope to see you in our next class. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon, for this insightful presentation. And thank you also to Jim and Stefan for giving us a tour of the LMS and some background on the development of the tool. This has been really insightful. I'm sure we're all super excited and eager to discover the tool that you all described. If there are any questions, maybe in the chat, or if some people would like to ask questions directly to the speakers, now is the right time to do so, as we have some time for a little Q&A. I see there is one hand, maybe Sweenan.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. I have the following question. First of all, a reflection. I'm very much excited to use your words about this one. And basically, if I really want to understand the whole system, maybe I have to hide for the next 2 or 3 weeks to really study from the morning till the evening, everything. But the reality is that we have a job where we have to attend to many different things. And this is already my 4th meeting today. So my suggestion is the following now. Is there a way when I'm accessing this website, whenever I have read something, on the module, I can click for myself, done. So next time I don't have to start searching around. The second question is to be able to organize my own work. If there's a module, can you add, maybe it's already done, the time needed, 30 minutes, 2 hours, and so on, so that when I go back, I know what I've done. And when I start something, I know how much time it takes to go through. Thank you.
Yeah, Julia, I can sort of try and take a first stab at that. I really like the suggestion of the sort of minutes that it would take. You know, I don't think that that would be hard for us to implement on various things. So, you know, tell you that that an assignment will take this amount of time so you can properly plan your day. So I like that suggestion, and we'll sort of see if it's possible to incorporate that into it. And the other one about done, in certain cases, yes, there are provisions for you to see your progress through time and sort of go to where you left off. But I'll sort of also take that one under advisement as far as just that would be a helpful feature within the system to make sure that you don't have to retrace your steps to find and waste time finding where you left off. So both good suggestions.
I don't know if Scriptoria want to jump in on these 2 questions and
yeah, I can add to that. It's a good point. Within the courses, we can set it so that you can Basically, you can't access modules until you've completed previous modules. So that's a good way to monitor progress for each user, in that they can't access content further in the course until they've completed the previous content. So we can set up courses in that way, and that makes it easier for you to follow where
Yeah,
you've left off.
one of this. That's
Okay, thank you, Rob. And this is more like a question from my side. But today is so the launch of this learning management system. But I'm guessing that we can make suggestions because this is probably a minimum viable product which we are going to build on. So if we have any suggestions on the functionality or the layout or the features of the tool, how can we make these suggestions? Should we reach out to the Scriptorian team, to you, Stefan? What do you think?
You could start with me, but I think it can come from any direction. I'll put my email in the chat, and if you've got suggestions on sort of ways to improve things, I'd be happy to hear about them. But I think also the Scriptoria folks, they know a bunch about this and are great at solving problems as well. So feel free to go that direction. But I'll put my email in the chat.
Right. So we have a few questions actually in the chat. I'll read the first one. Well, the first one is actually addressed to me directly. It's someone from the crowd who sent a registration request and is getting a message that says that their application is being reviewed. So I think this was mentioned during the presentation, but maybe Stefan, if you can just like spend a second explaining.
I'll reiterate that. So your sort of requests will go into a queue. We just want to double check that we don't have any bots or any sort of outside people that are not connected to our community making requests to have access. Once that's verified, we will then give you access to the system. So it shouldn't be long. But we just want to do that initial review to just make sure that we're letting in people from our community.
Okay. All right. So now another question that is in the chat from Nicholas that I am going to read out loud. Is this platform limited to on-demand e-learning opportunities, or can it also accommodate registration for other types of instruction, such as live distance e-learning courses or in-person courses?
Yeah, we're looking at that. I don't know, Rob, if you want to talk about sort of from your perspective whether or not we could take on other classes within the registration portion of the system to be able to do things outside our environment.
I understand the question as if you can complete courses, quizzes, modules in your own time, which I think is the whole premise of the LMS. But perhaps I'm not understanding the question
I think the
correctly.
question, Rob, was can they bring in other groups? The answer from the software point of view is you can bring in who you like. There is this reception room, you might call it, where the Stefan's team assess whether the people who are asking for requests to the site should be entering the site, because as Stefan said, you want to avoid bots, etc., entering the site. But if you want to arrange with Stefan's team for it to be used in that way, and if that is how you want to use it institutionally, and that those aren't my decisions to make, the system will allow you. As I say, the number of users is that can use this system is extremely large, and that's your limiting factor.
Thank you. I see actually, Nicholas, you have your hand up, so maybe you want to jump in here and ask also your second question about hosts.
Sure, yeah, just maybe just to clarify the first question, it's more about like there are different types of courses you might have, and like there's the purely online course, which I understand was kind of demonstrated here, where it's just you go at your own pace and you do the course entirely at your desk online. There are other types of courses that are, it might be like register for this webinar, it'll be a course and there's maybe a quiz at the end you can do, but there's like a live presentation and interactive course that you might do online that would require some sort of registration through a learning management system. I don't know. So that's like another course format that I'm wondering if this can cater for, or if you have an in-person or some sort of hybrid type course that you might offer. You might register online for the course through this platform, and maybe certain elements would be managed through the platform, but maybe some parts would be live in-person training. I'm just wondering what the flexibility of the
So
platform
the
is.
answer is
About that first.
the answer is a straight yes, but
Yeah,
we
yeah,
haven't
I
set
think
it up to do that. So back to you, Stefan.
yeah, I think all those technically are possible. I think what you heard in Simon's presentation was a mix where there would be sort of certain things that would be done online and certain things that would be done through live sort of interactions, and then also where there would be assignments that would be done that would be done in real time. So there's nothing preventing us from doing any of the arrangements that you've described.
Okay.
We're looking at this point, we're looking at the self-paced ones and the teacher sort of assisted types of learning at this point.
Okay. Thanks. That answers that first. So I had two other questions. Maybe if it's okay, I can try to jump. I don't want to monopolize the time, but second question was about whether the platform can cater for paid courses or if it's only for free courses. Like there might be a registration fee, recovery, or something like that.
Yeah, we hadn't anticipated at this point paid classes. I don't think that there's anything that would prevent us from doing that. But our current slate of classes at this point, and the ones that we envision for the near future, are all sort of free to our community.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing preventing it.
Okay. Then the last question. Then when you talk about, you mentioned our community several times, but I'm wondering, like, so how do you define that? And you've kind of addressed this, but when we organize a course for a project or something, we don't know who's going to register. We maybe have random seed companies or NARS partners or farmers in various locations. And
right.
How do you?
I mean, it's the breeding resources sort of scope of people, and so that would incorporate widely. I've seen people in breeding resources classes that encompass CG folks, NARS folks, industry folks, university folks, but it's around the topics that we mentioned somewhat before, which include trial and nursery, lab services, breeding analytics, digital solutions. That's the areas that we're sort of covering in the most part.
So
you're not management.
Okay, that helps. So the scope of this platform is really topics that are related to the services provided through breeding BRS or whatever.
Right.
Not like a general LMS for like all CGIAR work.
I mean, at this point, we're containing ourselves to this. Yeah. Sharifa, do you want to?
Yeah. Yes, I was just going to say that. So at this point, because we're launching, it's kind of limited to what breeding resources is doing, the services and so on, because we wanted to link to the services. But we are hoping with the interactions with others, we would also bring in stuff from ABI, maybe anything else. Essentially, as what I heard from Jim and Stefan, anything goes. So it's just that now we are this related to breeding resources, but more things are welcome. I think this can go really huge, and essentially it's an effort to scale as well what we do. So yeah, bring them in. Yeah.
Okay. Just real quick, the part of the reason I'm asking is like CIMMIT, we also have our own, I believe, our own learning management system that and alumni management. It's a separate platform, and I'm just trying to understand where there might be overlap or complementarity between these different initiatives and things. So.
Exactly. I think we spoke about that at length as well within Breeding Resources. How do we do this? But as I mentioned earlier, this is the beginning. We are launching this today. We want to see how it goes as well. And moving forward, I think there's nothing to stop us from merging maybe, or even like people could access this from CIMMIT, LMSN, and vice versa. So I think the potential is huge here. So let's do that.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. There are a few other questions in this chat. One from Trushore, which is, will any courses relating to breeding be accepted for hosting? And how do we upload content to the system? Is the material we provide reviewed and QC'd? Maybe Stefan?
Yeah. So let's start with the second part first, which is, if you've got a class that you want to that you'd like to have that you want to generate and put up, yes, there would be a process that will make sure that it's in line with what we're talking about here, and it will be QC'd, and it will be we'll try and make it have some form of the same look and feel as some of the other ones to try and keep making the learning process a little bit easier. And also, like if somebody wanted to create a class on basket weaving, and I'm not that isn't necessarily something that we do. It would be sort of something that we'd say, it's not our thing. We're not doing classes on basket weaving, and so there would be some form of an acceptance process that any new class will go through, and there will be a QC process afterwards to make sure that it meets our criteria and some sense of look and feel to make it easier on learners to go through their process.
Thank you. Okay, very quickly, the last two questions, because we are running out of time. The first one is from Sweenan. How do we introduce a specific national program who breeds together with us, and so that they can also access these LMS?
I mean, I think if as a CG person you've got a partner that you want to introduce that's a NARS that is interested in the breeding resources area, let them know about the links here and let us know that you want them involved. You have my email, and we'll sort of clear them through.
Okay, thank you. And last question from Richard, who's praising the presentation. Well, two questions actually. Can it be used for institute-specific trainings, and how does this relate to PRMS CapShare reporting?
So could it be used? Yeah, I mean, if it's within the domain at this point, let's start with where we are. If it's within the sort of area of breeding resources and you wanted to just have a class that was taught to a particular center or a particular NARS, you could use this system to do that. So there's nothing that would restrict you from doing that. What was the second part?
So how does the tool relate to PRMS CapShare reporting?
Sharifa?
I can answer that. Honestly, this PRMS CapShare reporting is a new module within the PRMS. I just saw it today. So I have to look at how this relates to that. So yeah, I can answer you at this point because this is a really new module within the PRMS, and I need to look at it carefully. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sharifa.
Yeah.
All right, so we are 1 minute after the end of this webinar, so I think it's time to close if there are no other questions. On the screen, you have a link to our website, Breeding Resources microsite on cgiar.org, which we encourage you to visit to learn about the different services provided by Breeding Resources, the events, and the news. And you can follow us on LinkedIn and X, Twitter, to learn everything about genetic innovation, 5 initiatives, and also the next events and all the news that we regularly publish there. The recording of this webinar will be added to the event page and then to social media. So if you have colleagues who were not able to attend, they will be able to watch this presentation. Do not forget the 2 sessions that are upcoming by Stefan about for content creators and the presentation on how to use the tool and its technicalities. Thank you so much for joining, and see you hopefully on Thursday for the launch of CGIAR breeding analytics pipeline. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.